Just a reminder to, as we move forward, to always mute if you are not planning to speak. I think we'll go over those directions because this is being live streamed, so whatever is said will be out in the public as well as in the ABTEL meeting. And Tricia, you can tell the public this as well, but no public comment was submitted to Alice Bryant. She just confirmed that with me.
Thank you.
We are live on YouTube, she says. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Emily. Well, welcome and good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'm Patricia Storhunt and Chair of ABTEL. I have a couple of notes before we begin. Thank you all for taking time to be here today. As you know, this is an electronic meeting. We are being live streamed on the VDOE YouTube channel at this point. Anyone looking for ABTEL materials can find them on the website. You just need to go to the VDOE site and click licensure and look for ABTEL. You will find all those materials in one single document. Please know that all votes today will be taken by roll call since we are doing this electronically. So each time we vote, I will walk through the list and call names for you to vote. If for some reason we get disconnected, please be patient. Try to log back in and Tara or Emily will admit you back to the meeting. That said, where we would normally introduce ourselves, I'm going to do a roll call just so we can see who's here today. So if you are muted, please turn on your microphone when I call your name and let us know that you're here. Andrew Dare.
I am here.
Thank you. Nancy Welch.
I am here.
Gary Carter. Tracy Mercier.
I am here.
Thank you. Thank you. Kate Sidney.
Yes, I am here.
Charletta Williams.
Here.
Selena Dickey.
Here.
Mary McIntyre.
I'm here.
Stephen Witten.
Here.
Wendy Downey.
I'm here.
Jennifer Andrews.
Here.
Diane Stubbins.
Here.
Holly Gould.
Here.
Kathy Bircher.
Here.
Sherry Wilson.
Here.
Travis Burns.
Here.
The Honorable Robert Orrock. The Honorable Mark Peak. Monica Osei.
Here.
Dan Lewis. Patty Pitts.
Here.
Tara McDaniel.
Here.
Thank you all. I appreciate that. And again, welcome and thank you so much for being here. First up is the approval of the agenda. It was sent to you electronically. Is there a motion to approve today's agenda?
You guys should see it on the screen if you don't have it.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as written. This is Nancy Welch.
Thank you, Nancy.
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, so Patty, you want me to walk through the list again?
Yes, we do have to do a roll
Yes,
call.
okay, for each one.
Every single, yes.
All right. So there's a motion on the floor to approve the agenda. I vote yes. Andrew,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Charlotta,
Yes.
Selena,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Holly,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Travis.
Yes.
Thank you. The agenda is approved. Next on the list is the approval of minutes from our January 13th meeting. Were there any corrections, changes, additions, anything that we need to note or discussion of the minutes?
I saw a tiny typo on the top of page 10.
Typo, top of page 10. Okay.
I think it was cardiopulmonary, which that's a completely understandable typo.
Thank you for catching that and for reading so carefully. Is there
I have time.
anything else? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended or corrected?
Jennifer Andrews, I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Jennifer. Is there a second?
Charlotta Williams, second.
Thank you, Charlotta. All right, all those voting in favor of the minutes. I vote yes. Andrew,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Charlotta,
Yes.
Selena,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Holly,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Travis.
Yes.
Thank you. The minutes are approved. There was no public comment submitted in writing to Alice Bryant at this point, so there is no public comment. Next up is a discussion of ABTEL membership and vacancies for 2020. So just a couple of things to mention. The vacancies to be filled by the board who will receive nominations are for classroom teacher elementary, higher ed faculty from a teacher preparation program private, higher ed faculty from a teacher preparation program public, those are the institution designations, a parent representative, school personnel administrator, classroom teacher, secondary, career, and technical education to fill an unexpired term, and school board member to fill an unexpired term. We have 4 members eligible for reappointment by the Board of Education as this is the end of their first term. Those people are Selena Dickey, Wendy Downey, Nancy Bradley, and Travis Byrne. So we thank you all for your first term of service and are grateful that you're willing to be reappointed. We have several members rotating off, and I'm sad that we can't be in person to thank you for your years of service because they have been greatly appreciated. They are Kate Sidney, Kathy Bircher, Holly Gould, Sherry Wilson, the Honorable Nick Rush. We also recognize these folks who resigned earlier in the year, and we did have a chance to thank them for their service. Phil Wishon, who was our higher ed representative from a public institution, Dr. Willie Sherman, and Dr. James Myers. So I thank you all for your service. Patty, do you have any comments you would like to make?
I just want to thank each of you for your service to ABTEL. You have been extraordinary in your work and your commitment to ABTEL. You know, we appreciate the fact that you are always at the meetings. You are always well engaged, and you know, the problem is after you serve 2 terms, we get so attached to you, it's really hard to let you go. But the Board of Education will be reviewing nominations at the June meeting, and we do anticipate that they will make new appointments in June to become effective in July. I am sad that we're not together to say thank you for all of your work, but as Tricia said, we thank you. We appreciate all you do for the students in the Commonwealth and for instructional personnel. So if you get a chance, when we all get back together again, maybe you can pop in and see us at an ABTEL meeting so we can actually tell you goodbye officially.
Thank you, Patty. Next up is the discussion of dates for the ABTEL meetings for the 2020-2021 year, and I'm going to turn that over to Patty.
Thank you. Generally, we try to meet on the about the third Monday of the months that we do meet in September, November, January, March, and April. I did have to make some adjustments due to holidays that fall on some of these dates. So the dates that I'm proposing are as follows. September, I chose the 28th because I'm hopeful by then, by the latter part of September, we can meet in person. So September 28th, November 16th, Thanksgiving is November 26th, so we wanted to avoid that date or that week. January 25th and January 18th is Martin Luther King Day, so we would meet the Monday following that. March 15th and April 26th. We always try to stay away from the week before and the week after Easter because generally those are weeks in which school divisions are on spring break. So again, the proposed dates are September 28th, November 16th, January 25th, 2021, March 15th, and April 26th.
Okay. Patty, do we know when the VEA's Red for Ed Day is? I know that's been on a Monday in January.
Let me check and
It's
see.
January 25th.
Yes, that's the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is our date.
Then we need to move this then.
Yes, ma'am. I was going to type in the question.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's very good because we don't want to hit that same day. So let me check the calendar. Just bear with me one moment here and see what we can do. Oops, I need to get to the right year. I'm in January. I'm going backward instead of forward. Here we go, January 2021. We cannot do it on the 18th, cannot do it on the 25th. We could do it the 11th of January. That we only have 4 weeks, or it's not, I mean, for that matter, we could do it the first week of February. If that works better for individuals, because actually February is February 1st. That might be a little bit better. Sometimes in the beginning part of January, it's really hard for people, you know, coming back off of, especially for our teachers who are, students are coming back. So how about if we do February 1st? Is that good for everyone?
That's good for me.
Yes.
Yeah, I just know coming back after the holiday, it's really hard on teachers to leave their classrooms. So by February, things should
Right.
everybody should be settled back in.
So Patty, this is informational. We don't need to vote on dates, do we? Or do we do that
I
next
think-
year?
I think we could do it by consensus if you're okay with that. I mean, generally, I think we have voted on them. So maybe we could have someone just approve them, make a motion to
Motion.
approve the date and just do
Sure.
a quick vote.
Sure.
Tricia, I can make the motion since I
Thank you.
did something. I move that we change the date from our January 25th, 2021 to February 1st, 2021.
Tracy Mercier, I second that.
And approve all other dates as specified, Charlotta?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, so we have a motion. I vote yes. Andrew,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Kate.
Yes.
Charlotta,
Yes,
Selena,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Holly,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Travis.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate your vote on that. All right, so we move to the next part of the agenda. The first item, item 1, is recommendations for the approval of undergraduate educator preparation programs. And I believe, Tara, that's you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay, and you should see on your screen agenda item 1. You can also follow along with this as you reference your packet. You guys are pros at this because we have done so many over the course of the last 2 years. So you guys could present this for me. So these are the undergraduate educator preparation programs, the Major in Education. That was the new initiative back in 2018. So we've had 2 cycles. So the first pathway was fall of 2019, and you guys approved those last year. We had 53 programs at that time. Public institutions, of course, had to also be approved through SHEV. And the second pathway, we had a due date of October the 1st, this past 2019. And we have 71 programs to put before you guys today. 71 programs, 15 institutions, 9 private, 6 public. It's the largest number I've seen in my tenure at the department, which is, and I don't know if Patty's approved more than that at one time, but it was quite an undertaking. The specialists reviewed the programs. Those of you that were involved in these and have been involved in program review, you know that it's a very intense process. They worked tirelessly, diligently. It's our VDOE specialist in the content areas, special education, CTE. So we had a wealth of resources. We had a wealth of knowledge and just their expertise for reviewing the programs. And of course, we do that through the syllabi. They also have to submit a new endorsement proposal packet that includes their partnerships, their field experiences. They have to have support letters from divisions. And they also have to prove how, the capacity for sustaining these programs. So you've got the list before you. And again, all of these programs will have net competencies, which are the competencies that are found in our regulations governing the review and approval of education programs in Virginia. So each of the competencies for each of these endorsement areas were reviewed very meticulously. And we've got, like I said, we've got 71 total with 9 private. And then you've got your private list here first. And they're in various endorsement areas, English, health and PE, special education, ESL, career tech, math. So the list goes on and on. And so we, recommendation is to put before you, is to approve or make a recommendation to the Board of Education for final approval. They were supposed to go back in March, and I know that colleges have been anxiously awaiting so that they could offer these in the fall. So do I have any questions about this that I can help answer?
I just have, this is Patty, have one comment, and this was my error. This item is going to go to the board in June. The draft document was to be submitted to the department for review. We have to send things in way in advance to be reviewed and vetted before it goes to the Board of Education. Please, because we also have to make the documents accessible, the document that you received, I think, refers to our meeting today. Just ignore that. That was just part of a placeholder for today. Certainly, any revisions or changes would be reflected in the board document before it's approved and sent to board members. But the board item has not been sent to out of the department yet. Certainly came to you first. Just wanted you to be aware of that because it was there was a reference to our meeting today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. So, friends, we need several motions, and because you have representatives on ABTEL who actually work at these institutions or teach at them, and we have some conflicts of interest, we have folks who will need to abstain. So I will need a motion first to approve programs at all private institutions except the University of Lynchburg and the University of Richmond. So I'll kind of walk you through these so that we ensure the folks who need to abstain can abstain.
I make a motion to approve all the private universities except for University of Lynchburg and University of Richmond.
Thank you. Diane, is there a second?
I
This
second.
Selena did,
Chair,
Jennifer.
second.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. This is Patty. Just for the purpose of the minutes, I'm sorry. I could not hear who made the motion or who made the second.
Diane Stubbins made the motion.
Okay. And who seconded the motion?
Jennifer, was it Jennifer?
I did, Jennifer.
Jennifer Andrews.
Okay, Jennifer, thank you.
Yes. So the motion before you is to approve all undergraduate programs at private institutions except the University of Lynchburg and the University of Richmond. I vote yes. Andrew,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Charletta,
Yes.
Selena,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Holly,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Travis.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so now we need motions for the two programs that we left out, and we need to do them separately to approve the undergraduate program at Lynchburg and then another for the program at the University of Richmond.
So this is Jennifer Andrews. I will move to approve the programs at the University of Lynchburg.
Okay, is there a second for that?
This is Andrew, second.
Thank you, Andrew. So the motion is to approve the undergraduate program at the University of Lynchburg. I vote yes. Andrew,
I vote yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Charletta,
Yes.
Selena,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Holly.
Abstain.
Thank you. Kathy,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Travis. Travis,
His internet was going in and out. Oh,
it
there we
is.
go.
Oh, thank you. All right. So now we need a motion for the University of Richmond.
Tracy Mercier, I make a motion to approve the undergraduate program at University of Richmond.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Nancy Welch, a second.
Thank you, Nancy. The motion is to approve the undergraduate program at the University of Richmond. I abstain. Andrew,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Charlotta,
Yes.
Selena,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Holly,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Travis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tricia,
Now-
who
yes.
made that initial motion? I'm sorry, mine was kind of flickering and I could not hear who made that last motion. Did you get it, Tara?
Tracy.
Tracy.
Tracy, okay, thank you.
So the last one we need is to approve undergraduate programs at public institutions.
This is Jennifer. I move to approve public undergraduate programs at public institutions.
Thank you. Is there a second?
There's a second from Charlotta.
Thank you, Charlotta. The motion before you is to approve all undergraduate programs at public institutions. I vote yes. Andrew,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Charlotta,
Yes.
Selena,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Holly,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Travis.
Yes.
Thank you. And thank you, Tara, for all of your hard work. I know that is a lot of programs. The work that you and your staff and others have done is greatly appreciated. The next item on the list, item 2, is a presentation and discussion on revisions to licensure renewal requirements. And I believe that's Patty.
That is correct. And before I begin presenting this item, I do want to echo your thanks to Tara. It was a huge job coordinating the review of all of those programs. You can only imagine reviewing all of the courses and the syllabi for every single program. That's 71 programs, and looking at each one to make sure that the requirements have been met. She worked with the colleagues and experts in the Department of Education, and it was a huge effort. And I do want to thank her as well as the colleagues from the Department of Education. They did a tremendous job. That was very time consuming, very important task for the Department of Education. But it did, that was a huge project for her and her team. So thank you, and Janelle and Tita for all your work. So now I want to present to you for, this is for discussion. We had really hoped that we would be able to review the renewal requirements at our meeting, where we would all be together and we could get together and have discussions, maybe even look, possibly do some work groups. But of course that did not materialize. So what we've decided to do is to introduce this to you today so you can think about it, talk to others, and that we can come back in September and began formulating a recommendation to the Board of Education about license renewal requirements. The very beginning part of this agenda item focuses on the history of renewal. Now, for me, I was not in the department in 1958. I just want to be clear on that. However, I have been in that area for a long time and have seen the changes in the renewal requirements. But I think it's both interesting and it's good to reflect on what we've done in the past. If you will refer to the board items, and I went back to 1958. I could have gone back a little bit more, but I decided to start with 1958. And back then, we actually had 10-year licenses. When the board approved 10-year licenses in Virginia, people really thought that that was the first time that had ever been approved in Virginia. But that's not true. We had 10-year licenses from 1958. Then we changed the period of time. Collegiate professional licenses changed, or certificates as they were called back then, were changed to 5 years, and postgraduate professional certificates continued for 10 years for a period of time. But effective July 1 in 1979, all certificates in Virginia were effective for 5 years. Now in 1990, and it's really hard for me to say 1990, thinking how far back that was, because in some ways it doesn't seem that long ago, Virginia developed the recertification point system. And it was based upon the premise that license holders would have more options and choices for renewal. Prior to this, individuals had to take 6 semester hours of college credit for renewal, and that was it. And it really didn't give license holders a lot of flexibility. So there were 10 options created in 1990 for individuals to select to earn 180 points. I remember back in that day, there was a lot of discussion nationally because we were one of the first states to really venture out and do something different, where it was an individualized point system with the hope that professional development would be targeted based upon the license holder's needs. Now, in 1992, we changed the term certificate to license. So that is when we changed from certificate to license in 1992. In 2003 is where we began seeing some General Assembly action regarding renewal. First, the technology standards were required for all license holders, and in 2004, we began requiring child abuse and neglect recognition and intervention training, which continues currently. In 2007 was when we changed the 10 options to 8. We actually removed 2. Educational travel and peer review, because they really at the time did not meet the requirements for high quality professional development. However, I will also say that sometimes educational travel could still be part of one of the 8 options remaining, such as someone may do educational travel as part of an educational project. So in 2013, we began requiring emergency first aid, CPR, and the use of AEDs requirements. We required Virginia history or state and local government. That module was required. And in 2017, an additional requirement of dyslexia awareness training and school counseling training, which was only for those who have a school counselor endorsement. Now, in September of 2017, the emergency first aid, CPR, and AED certification or training requirement now included hands-on practice. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, but that has been waived through this calendar year, just the hands-on practice, but we will discuss that later under updates. Then in 2018, we began at that point with 10-year licenses, issuing 10-year renewable licenses, and changed the renewal fee. Now, the renewal fee, even though it went up to $50, is still $5 a year. So it really did not increase for the number of years that one received a license, but it did change from $25 to $50. Also, the Board of Education and ABTEL made a recommendation in this regard, changed requirements as far as the number of points one would have to accrue to renew a license. Individuals who have 5-year licenses until they get a 10-year license continue with the 180 points, but those individuals with 10-year licenses, when they renew, which the first group will be in 2028, will have to accrue 270 points. You also see on the chart that Tara has before you the number of points that may be accrued in each of the 8 areas. Now, when the advisory board recommended the 200, well, actually, ABTEL didn't recommend the 270. That's what the board ultimately approved. But when you made recommendations to the Board of Education on points, one of the areas that ABTEL really wanted to be included for individuals renewal was training or preparation in the area of diversity, equity, and cultural competence. That was recommended at the time to the Board of Education. The Board of Education asked that there be a review of renewal and how we would move forward with renewal for license holders in Virginia. What you have before you is just a draft for discussion, and you will see the 8 boxes. Now, the ones in red on the bottom row indicate actual suggested number of points for individuals. So in the 270 points, it could be recommended, and certainly this is what is up for discussion for ABTEL, that individuals who want to renew their license must complete at least 15 clock hours in diversity, equity, and cultural competence training. If you continue on the bottom row, if an individual is employed in a school division, then the individual must complete professional development and learning provided by the division, 15 points. And that's a minimum. Mm-hmm. And another suggestion was a minimum of 15 points in social, emotional learning, trauma-informed teaching strategies, or classroom management, 15 points. Mm-hmm. And then everyone does get points for the additional training required by the General Assembly. That does depend on what endorsement one holds. For example, if you hold social studies, you have to do the history and civics tutorial. For counseling, you must do the counseling training, so individuals would receive more points. So that is noted below. But some of the other topics in the blue boxes above suggested that other points for renewal should be earned in the area of data analysis, instructional planning, content knowledge, technology integration and computer science, instructional and assessment practices. You will see from looking at some of these topics that they're very similar to the standards that we have that the board has previously approved for the evaluation of teachers, principals, and superintendents. And one of the goals that we have would be to align renewal with those performance standards much more closely than they have been in the past. Certainly, license holders have taken and completed training, courses, et cetera, in these areas. But the focus would be on trying to have more alignment with those performance standards and the renewal points that one receives. There has been some discussion about from other individuals that they really don't like the point system. There needs to be some kind of system, however, so that individuals can meet these requirements. We are looking at micro-credentialing. Micro-credentialing is not necessarily hour per hour, but I think you're going to see more information on micro-credentialing and how those can be applied toward renewal. They could have been applied already for individuals for renewal because under professional studies, certainly an individual could have completed professional development, could have completed micro-credentialing that was approved by their school division for renewal. So I'm presenting this today for any preliminary discussion that ABTEL would like have your first reaction to this very, very draft proposal. And we hope to have a rich discussion in September so that ultimately you can make some recommendations to the Board of Education about where we need to go and as far as license renewal in Virginia.
So folks, can I ask that if you would like to comment, just go to the participant box and raise your hand. That way I'll be able to call on you. Be easier, Andrew?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. So I wanted to comment on the diversity, equity, and cultural competence. And this is something that I've commented on before during our ABTEL, during previous meetings. But my concern with diversity, equity, and cultural competence is that it's an external academic exercise that does not necessarily warrant any critical reflection. And I would like to see us consider something like diversity, equity, culturally responsiveness and competence / white fragility, or diversity, equity, culturally responsiveness and competence / anti-racist educational practice. And I'll type that in the comments just since that's a mouthful. And I've actually counted letters and it's, you know, no more than what we have with social emotional. Actually, it might be more.
Thank you, Andrew. Selena.
I like the concept at the bottom of requiring 15 points in all those different areas. But I worry, I'm thinking about me kind of early in my career when I was doing my master's, and I got all my research points doing graduate classes. And that would obviously fall under content knowledge. But would someone who is in that part of their career kind of be docked because maybe they're taking those classes and they're not getting the social, emotional, or the diversity or equity training? So, like, would someone be overwhelmed thinking, no, I did all my things and I'm trying to get an endorsement or trying to get a master's, and now you also need me to do X, Y, and Z? I don't mean that to sound whiny, but that I could see someone being maybe overwhelmed seeing all those requirements if they think they're meeting the requirements in another way. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm down with, like, I love the fact that that is so spread out and the alignment with the performance goals that we do. I love that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Nancy.
Thank you. I echo Selena and her comments, but I'm also cautious with definitions. I know that in our community, equity means means different things to different people. Cultural competence means different things to different people. Same thing with social emotional learning and trauma informed teaching. So what I would say is that we need some type of definitions for these included within this document.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Tracy.
Yes, thank you. The three in the top on the blue, I honestly think data analysis, instructional planning, technology integration, computer science, instructional assessment practices. I think there will be no problem in meeting those requirements in the next 2 years with all the potential for online learning. And I agree with what Dr. Dare said about putting that into educational practices for diversity, equity, and cultural competence. I think too often he's talking about, you know, how it's outside the classroom, but there are, I mean, we have institutional racism ingrained in our system and maybe in some of us that we are unaware of. So I think that specifying that to go to educational practice would be a good move on that part.
Thank you. Before I call on the next person, if I've called on you and you've spoken, your hand is still up. You need to manually put it down and then put it back up for me if you want to make another comment. Jennifer.
So I may have zoned out a moment here. Are these, this says 8 topics for renewal. Are these items also required for initial licensure?
That's not what's actually being, this is Patty. What's being addressed here specifically is for renewal. Certainly many of these areas are part of what is required for initial licensure. However, in that regard, some need to be strengthened.
Right. Thank you.
Are there any other hands? Anybody else that would like to comment on this plan? Sherry. Sherry, are you there?
I said a mouthful already, but I'll repeat
sorry.
it. I said it while I was mute. But I am very happy to see diversity, equity, and cultural competence there as an option. And I think it's very important that it's there and considered. I do fear that without some specific guidance and a definition of what it is that we're looking for in that area, that we may not get out of it what we're looking to. So a definition, I think, is definitely needed.
Thank you. Jennifer.
I appreciate that Andrew wrote up what he had recommended. If you look at social media right now, there's a lot of discussion going on about anti-racist educator practices, etc. It's very timely right now, and it's something that we all need to be very much aware of, is what our own perspectives are. I like the first wording best, the competence anti-racial educator practices, as opposed to the second one, /white fragility, just because there are other minorities other than Black that are groups within schools that whose culture is not being recognized by the dominant practices.
Thank you. Anyone else on this issue? So Patty, we will be taking this up in September. So we have time to think about this and talk to our colleagues and get some input before we reconvene, correct?
Correct. And what I would suggest and ask you to do is send me any comments as you reflect on this draft, and that's certainly what it is. If you have other thoughts or comments that you would like to make, we would certainly appreciate hearing from you before September. So please don't hesitate to reach out to Tara or me, because we certainly would appreciate your comments. And because what we bring to you in September could change certainly based upon the comments that we receive.
Thank you, Patty. The next item on our list is updates from the VDOE. So I'm assuming that's Patty as well.
Yes, I just have a few brief updates for you today. One is on the guidelines for alternate routes to licensure in response to House Bill 2486. That was from the 2019 General Assembly. ABTEL did a wonderful job in reviewing the guidelines for alternate routes. I just wanted to let you know that those did become effective January 23rd, 2020. This is for entities that would like to submit to the Department of Education for an alternate route to licensure. It does have to go through a school division, and we appreciate all the work that ABTEL did in that recommendation, and those guidelines are in place. The second item that I wanted to update you on was that the proposed requirements for dual language endorsement, you had already submitted to the Board of Education for licensure requirements, but we had not submitted the competencies to be included in the approved program regulations. Well, I'm pleased to tell you at the May 7th board meeting, the board did approve ABTEL's recommendations. So both the licensure regulations and the approved program regulations will begin through the Administrative Process Act to create the dual language endorsement. The last one, my last update, is on the proposed requirements for an economics and personal finance add-on endorsement. At our last ABTEL meeting, which is reflected actually in the minutes that you approved today, so I know you have recently reviewed those, a recommendation went to the Board of Education for first review. There was some discussion and comments from Dr. Lang, Superintendent of Public Instruction, and a couple of board members about the requirements that were being proposed. Just to recap, what was recommended by the task force that was sent to you and then you recommended to the Board of Education was that this add-on endorsement would require 6 semester hours in economics or 3 semester hours of college credit in economics and 45 clock hours of an institute, and 6 semester hours of personal finance, or 3 semester hour course in personal finance and 45 clock hours. And the institute would have to be offered either by an accredited, regionally accredited college or university, or by Virginia School Division. This item will be submitted to the Board of Education for final review this month at the board's meeting, the Board of Education meeting. We anticipate that what is proposed may be a little bit different from what ABTEL recommended. And during the last meeting in May, Dr. Lane indicated that that initially when this was discussed as a possible option, it was really not an endorsement that would be so involved to teach this course. So what he mentioned was that he would like to see some reduction in the amount of coursework, and actually mentioned perhaps one course or an institute as an option in economics as well as for personal finance. So at this point, the recommendation of Dr. Lane has not been submitted to the board, but once it has been, we will certainly share that with you. You can review the board items to see what he's going to recommend, and the final decision rests with the Board of Education. But remember, once the board approves the recommendation, then what will happen is, whether it's, you know, what ABTEL is recommending, the task force, or whether it's something totally different, we don't know at this point. But whatever the board does recommend, I wanted to remind you that it will go through the public process, and there will be public comment for that. But I just wanted to let you know that that will be presented to the board for final review in June. So those are my updates on ABTEL initiatives. It's been a little while since we met, and I wanted to let you know where we stood with those.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments for Patty about those updates? Hearing none, we move on to liaison reports. I know that Dan is not here. Did he submit a report, Tara, to be shared? No, he did not. Okay. Monica, do you have a report from Chev for us?
Not today, thank you.
Thank you. Patty, is there anything else from the Department of Education we need to know about?
I did want to share with you, since schools have closed, that the Department of Education has developed on its website a frequently asked questions and answers document. If you're not aware of that, it should be of great interest to you. It is broken down in different topic areas. As you know, the General Assembly had reconvened. During its reconvened session, it did give Dr. Lane I guess, you know, he and the Secretary of Education can make certain modifications to laws or make waivers depending on, as long as it was they're impacted by the pandemic. Wanted to just go over very, very swiftly with you the flexibility waivers that were allowed in the area of teacher education and licensure. As you know, the regulations give Dr. Lane authority to make modifications to the licensure regulations and the approved program regulations. That has already been in place. He has had that authority. So as such, Tara worked with the colleges and universities, invited them to submit waiver requests regarding the 10-week student teaching or 300 clock hours, depending on whether under the old or the new requirements, and internship requirements. All the colleges and universities, and thank you, Tara, for working with them, that submitted supplemental activities and modification requests, all of those were approved by Dr. Lane. However, we had to wait until the General Assembly acted for some of the other waivers in which Dr. Lane did not have authority to make exceptions, but subsequently has made waivers or exceptions, and I wanted to very quickly go over those. One, hands-on CPR has been waived for individuals seeking an initial license or license renewal until January 1, 2021. Now, that does not erase the fact that individuals still have to meet the first aid, CPR, and AED requirements. Those can be done online, but due to the fact that it was not safe for license holders to take hands-on CPR, that has been waived. Also, another flexibility provision that Dr. Lane did approve, which he had the authority to do, was anyone who could not meet their requirements for renewal due to COVID-19 are allowed to have an extra year on the license. So we are extending renewable licenses for 1 year to give individuals opportunities to meet the renewal requirements. In Virginia, we have never extended licenses for individuals unless they were employed in a school division. He has made that exception. So on our website, we actually have a form that an individual who's not employed in a Virginia public school or an accredited private school can submit for the extension of a license for 1 year. And the directions are on the website. Now that's for renewable licenses. We also know that there are individuals who hold provisional licenses that will expire July 1 of 2020 who did not have opportunities to meet their requirements because they may have been planning to take an assessment in the spring and they couldn't because test centers were closed. And some courses were canceled in which they were enrolled. Due to that, a waiver by Dr. Lane was approved so that, and it was approved in conjunction with the Secretary of Education's office, and this is a result of the General Assembly action, because as you know, the law is very clear that we had no authority to extend a provisional license only under certain circumstances, which you know, so I'm not going to go into those. But instead of individuals' licenses being extended, what we are doing is issuing a 1 year license to them. After the 1 year, which will expire June 30, 2021, the license in whatever status it was in when we issued this 1 year license will continue. And let me explain. You know that the statute allows in certain circumstances, a superintendent may request an extension of a provisional license. 2 consecutive extensions can be requested. Maybe someone was in their second year of their provisional extension, they will get this 1 year license, but at the conclusion, they will have no more extensions left because they had used those prior to the 1 year license. The other exception, and all of this is in the frequently asked questions and answers. Actually, there's a really nice little chart that explains this in much detail. But some of our college and university candidates who were graduating in the spring could not take all their licensure assessments, but they were graduating and completed all other requirements. Instead of giving them a statement of their eligibility for a provisional license, they too will get this 1 year license. So this will be very helpful if they're going to another state. So it's not just a letter from us saying you'd be eligible, but it's actually a Board of Education issued license that will be enforced for a year. So those are the major flexibility modifications or waivers that have been granted for individuals. You will notice on the chart that it also says that if there are other unique and unusual circumstances that need to be addressed, certainly Dr. Lane will be happy to review those as well. just wanted to give you that update. Also, you may want to know how we have delivered that information. We provided 2 webinars for our public schools and even some of the accredited non-public schools to participate in those webinars to explain these flexibilities. And Tara has been working with the colleges and universities on the modification request. So does anyone have any questions?
I have a question, Patty.
Sure.
So going back to the people that are renewing their licenses, you said they have until January of 2021. Would that apply to people that are about to begin their renewal process? Like, for example, if I'm going to renew mine in 2021, would that apply, or would not fall into that category?
Okay. So individuals would have the extension. That will be until June 30 of 2021.
I'm sorry, I meant to say June.
Yeah. So it does not apply to individuals whose licenses will expire in 2021. Many individuals can enroll in activities and things that are online. The big issue for those individuals whose licenses were expiring this year was that things that they were enrolled, even school division activities in which they were enrolled, they couldn't finish them. And so they were really in a very unusual situation. But no, there has been no flexibility provision to date for individuals whose licenses will expire June 30 of 2021.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Patty, this is Andrew Dare. I just wanted to make a comment. I know that 100% of all the issues weren't necessarily addressed, the way that everybody wanted them, but I just want to send a sincere appreciation to you, Tara, your team, Dr. Lane, because you all responded very swiftly to the needs of our students. Our students were very panicked and worried, particularly the ones that were on their clinical placement sites. And to my knowledge, you all have resolved, all of those issues for students who are graduating. I think you all worked your magic to address all those needs of the students. I'll go out on a limb here and speak on behalf of other deans of the colleges and schools of education in the Commonwealth, just to provide you and your team a heartfelt thank you, appreciation, and job well done in a time of just significant crisis when you're managing everything in your own office and in your own lives. So thank you so much for what you all did for our students.
And thank you for those comments. The team at the Department of Education has worked very hard, and Dr. Lane has worked very hard to try to make the accommodations and the waivers. This is a difficult time for everyone, and we are aware. So thank you so much. We appreciate that so much. I do want to also let you know that since this has happened, we have notified colleges and universities as well as school divisions that at-home testing is possible with the Educational Testing Service for selected tests. Not for all the tests yet. They're going to announce some more that are going to be brought online. I will let you know that we're also having conversations with evaluation group at Pearson, because Pearson does have an at-home platform as well. So they are working to see if we can get the VCLA available through an at-home testing platform. Certainly, we hope this never happens again, but now we need to be prepared if it does. And we've also expressed how much we appreciate the at-home testing that in some of the states, because I've been on some national calls, have expressed interest in that continuing for the convenience of test takers. So again, thank all of you for what you're doing. I've just been amazed at how colleges and universities and school divisions and private schools and the community have really reached out. We have just heard so many wonderful stories about how people have chipped in and volunteered to help our students across the Commonwealth and our candidates and programs. And we just cannot thank you enough for your excellent work. You know, teachers and central office personnel, superintendents delivering food to our students. We've just been amazed at the community engagement that has evolved from this. Even in this very tragic situation, many of us who have lost loved ones and friends from COVID-19, it's been nice to see how the education community has really bonded to help our students and families throughout the Commonwealth. So thank you for your work.
Thank you, Patty. Are there any other questions or comments before we entertain a motion to adjourn? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
It's Kathy Bircher. I'll move to adjourn.
And is there a second?
Jennifer Andrews, second.
Patty, do we need to take one more roll call vote?
No, I think we're probably okay on the adjournment. But thank you, Tricia. You did a marvelous job coordinating, and thank you, Tara, for all the work. I think this went very, very smoothly, and I think it's from your leadership, Tricia. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. You did a fantastic job today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Be safe out there. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Emily.
Patty, yeah, thanks, Emily.
Did a great job, Emily.
Patty. Yeah, thank you. I think I got all of the motions and all of the, I think I'm good.
Do we need to give hosting back to Emily so she can stop the?
Now I stopped recording. Yeah, let me give Emily. Emily, we're making you a host again. Let's see, let me call her.
I think she's still on.
Hey, I just made you host. We just finished. Oh, yep, I figured. Thanks. Thanks, Emily.
Thank you so much, Emily. Great job, as always.
I made you host, so you got to give it back to me, I guess.